guys. So I am here because an awesome Instagram follower requested that I make a video on a ritual or some kind of experience that she can come up with, that she can do on the upcoming full moon, that will help her to release the past and to start a new path and just let go of what was. So I kind of wanted to quickly just preamble this with the fact that energy work requires a lot of self-knowledge and self-awareness. So in ancient times, witches and kind of magic workers, when they would come up with rituals or a way to cleanse their mind, specifically connected to a celestial event, it kind of has to be very psychologically intense in order to actually accomplish the desired effect of letting go, in this case, of releasing the past. So energy workers and magic workers have to be very aware of themselves and have to have a deep self-knowledge of what it is for them that would work, what experience do they need to go through kind of in private with themselves that will allow them to release the past. So I learned some shamanic practices like extractions, where we actually come to the person, feel where the pieces are that need to be taken out and kind of take them out of the person's energetic field. So for example, an old relationship or somebody hurt you, a parent hurting you, your own kind of whatever it is that was not positive for you that you're still carrying around with you. Ancient cultures and many cultures now, and more people believe that shamans can remove that for the person. But if a person is self-aware enough and strong enough in their spiritual practice that they want to do this for themselves without the help of a shaman, they need to have self-awareness so that they can craft such a ritual that will help them to release the past on a full moon. Why on a full moon specifically, you might ask? Because full moons are traditionally incredibly powerful times. They are a time of completion. They are a time of finishing a cycle that you began with a new moon, where you kind of started all of your intentions, and then in the full moon, 2 weeks later, you've completed that cycle. So nature kind of forces us into these 2-week cycles. 2 moon phases per month approximately happen, new moon and full moon, and in those, if we constantly celebrate these cycles and put our attention to them and these phases, then we're forced to be part of this cycle, this kind of 2-week, 1-month cycle related to the moon. And then all of our work, whether kind of earthly work, like our job, cleaning the house, earthly work, or spiritual work, like raising our vibration, letting go of the past, all of that kind of work begins to take on a completely different meaning and feeling when we live in accordance with the cycles. These ancient cycles that are part of our earth, part of who we are as the human species. The moon's phases affect each being because we all have these bodies made of water, mostly water, and the moon pulls on every single cell in our body and in our brain in accordance with its current phase. So no one can escape, whether you accept this, not accept this, whether you think this is just a bunch of baloney and a bunch of crazy witch people are talking about moon phases. You can't escape the truth that this is happening. It's a scientific fact that this is going to affect you. So this Instagram follower very wisely is seeking to use the power of a full moon that's upcoming to try and release old patterns and old habits and kind of move on past that. So my general answer is do some research, maybe look at some books that are specifically made for witchcraft and for rituals, but also kind of look within yourself. What do you need for this, for this experience? For something that will powerfully allow you to let go of old hurts so that you can grow in the future, and to have reached a point where one is willing to admit that there are pieces that they're still carrying around with them that they want to let go of, and then willing to do whatever is necessary to let go of those pieces. That is a lot of internal work. So my hat comes off to you, my awesome Instagram follower, that you are at this point in your spiritual journey, that you didn't need to go to some counselor, talk through many hours to kind of reach this. It seems to me like you're at this point naturally by yourself, which is very admirable, and I truly appreciate being able to assist in any way at all. So my general answer is there are lots and lots of answers out there. For me, personally, I learned going to the forest. You could even sit down on the ground and feel the badness, like a black smoke that you can imagine, just draining out of you and going down into the ground. And you don't even need to know specifically in that moment of ritual what each thing is that you're releasing. For example, you don't need to be sitting there going, I want to let go of the pain of my spouse dumping me. Okay, go. I want to let go of the pain of not respecting myself, not having been taking care of myself properly. Now I will do so. Go. You don't have to be thinking that. You basically sit down, like, very simple. Nothing very complex is required, at least from my experience. I know some people love very complex rituals with many, like, fancy gadgets, but I come from a world of Buddhism where the simpler the better. Your spiritual journey should be able to just rely on you, the ground, and maybe a stick. You shouldn't need much. Everything you need is above you, below you, all around you. So frankly, you go to the forest, you sit down in front of a tree, and you breathe away the blackness. The way a shaman would actively take it away from you, you can try and release it yourself. And you don't need to think in detail about what it is. Just sit in nature and try and release the badness and tell yourself, I let go of the self-doubt, I let go of the fear, I let go of the past, I am moving forward. So there are kind of a few components to this. Being in nature and being by yourself is kind of a large component of this. When you're surrounded by people and pets, and maybe even in your house or in your creative space, you're too busy thinking about other things. To truly be in that state where it's just you releasing that pain, you need to get out of your day-to-day space, get away from everyone, be by yourself in nature. Number one. I don't think many people will contest me on this, but I'm sure there are people out there who have other ways of doing this, and that's okay. This is the way that I would recommend. So you go to nature, you sit near a tree, you find whatever spot is calling to you, where you feel like this kind of important work can be done properly. And you sit there and try and essentially meditate, essentially breathe away the badness. Simple, I know. So this is kind of my Buddhist take on my energy work. I kind of mixed my Buddhist practices with my shamanism, my tarot reading, all of my Judaism, all of my beliefs. I've allowed the simplicity of Buddhism to kind of permeate everything that I'm talking about. Crystal healing also. For a while, I couldn't even work with crystals because I felt that they were just too many more items, physical things that I needed to do this kind of work. But I came to realize crystals have their benefits, so it's okay. But still, simplicity is king. So you sit down, you breathe. With every breath, you try to take in everything around you, all the air, the beauty of nature, the vibrations every tree has created, every animal that has hopped through that spot has created. You take that in, you imagine with every breath how it permeates you. The light just comes in very bright. And then you breathe out. And you imagine how black smoke is being breathed out of your mouth. Perhaps sometimes that's helpful to imagine black smoke being breathed out and then just falling down to the ground and being completely absorbed by the ground. And it's gone forever. And that black smoke represents the fear, the pain, the worry, the doubt, the self-doubt, the kind of inability to trust people again. All those things that you don't have to think about in that moment in detail. The only thing you're focusing on is letting go of the blackness, letting go and trying to let in trust, the feeling of nature, the feeling of how things should be. Don't let people's misbehavior toward you shift you too far away from how you feel when you're in nature, because that is the natural state of things, especially for intuitives, for spiritual people who are on a spiritual journey, although for everyone as well. That's kind of a more natural state of being where we're trusting, we're loving, we're just giving. That's how we feel in the forest. So you go there, you breathe away the blackness. Sometimes, when you need to, you can scream. It's one of the best letting go exercises ever. If you need to bring a pillow to scream into, do it. If you know you're alone in the woods and there's nobody for miles, do it. Scream, because the throat chakra is activated when you're screaming and you're truly saying with that scream, take this away from me, take this out of me, I want this out. I'm ready to go to the next level of self-development. I don't want this stuff bogging me down anymore. So there's a lot to be said here. Kind of a lot of work has to be done before you're able to go to the forest and just breathe out the blackness. First, you have to understand what you're doing. To some people, that's enough. They're very quiet, kind of internal people. They go to the forest, they can sit on a log, breathe out the blackness for a couple minutes, and it's a truly profound experience for them, just because they're turning their minds toward this, to get rid of it, of the blackness. Some people are more intense, more expressive. That might not be enough, so they might need to go and scream and just scream, please, universe, just take this away. I'm one with you. I want to be healthy again. That's another way of doing it. Some people find it useful to write down on a piece of paper what it is that they want to get rid of and to let go. And don't focus on the positive parts. Just write this piece of paper full of all the negative stuff that you want to get rid of and throw it into the fire. People sometimes do rituals like that. You throw it into the fire, you dance around the fire and kind of imagine that all of the blackness is going up in the flames, into the universe, into the air, and being absorbed away from you. That's another way to do it. Again, the main point here is to create an exercise that would work for you, and only you know what exercise that is. When people come up and say, I have the perfect ritual to let go of things, and they give it to you on a silver platter, that might be the easy way out, but that's why often these things do not work. The truth is, witches have had books of shadows for hundreds of years for a reason, because each witch creates her own practices and her own rituals and her own prayers and her own ways of doing things based on her own, or his own, but usually it's witches, so this is kind of where this philosophy is coming from. The person is coming up with ideas based on their own nature, and each person's nature is different. So what works for me might not work for you. Honestly, I've done all these things and they've all worked at different times in my life. There were times when I had to scream to let go of things, and I have, and that's the only way that worked. Other times, I've had to just go into nature, sit on some soil and breathe in the air and let go of the blackness, and that worked. No need to scream, yell, do anything. I didn't need to do it through the throat chakra. I could just do it from the heart chakra, if that makes sense. Other times, when I was younger especially, I did write things on papers and burned them, and I felt a sense of relief. And that's what we all want, is to feel like it's done, it's over. Another way I've used when I was younger is to bury, to write something that you want to let go of and then bury it. And then you know that it's rotting in the ground. That paper is slowly disintegrating into the ground with all the things that you wrote on it. That's another way to do it. After writing, however, all the negative things, and kind of going through the catharsis and finishing with that, I recommend that within a day or two, you sit down and write a lot of the positive things that you want to come out from letting go of these negative things that you previously wrote down. And the reason I say this is that writing is very powerful. Saying things is very powerful. Verbal language is a very powerful component of magic, creation, co-creation, manifestation. So if you only take time to write negative things, then you're basically robbing your practice of the positivity. You're putting a lot more focus into the negativity you're trying to get rid of than you are into the positivity that you're trying to create. So the most enlightened way to do this would be to do whatever ritual it is that you need to do to let go of the past, whether it's burning your boyfriend's pictures or whatever, that you know would help you let go. And then write down or say to yourself the things that you hope to gain, but preferably not at the same exact time as you're burning the paper, because I think you should be more in that state of letting go. You should be very focused on letting go of the past and moving toward new exciting shores. However, later, when that's finished, clarify for yourself what those shores are, because the exercise will have been much stronger and better and more powerful if you do it this way. So yeah, these are my general recommendations. Sorry, I don't have like a specific written out ritual for you, but these are the things I've done in the past. It's all about self-psychology, self-awareness, and self-knowledge, which is how most journeys are, most internal journeys. Spiritual practices require this. So this is just another one of those cases where you have to maybe take the next week and come up with what it is that you're trying to get rid of and what you think would be the powerful ritual for you. It might be helpful if you bring music with you. I've definitely done that a lot to the forest. I also bring, I'm just thinking, what have I brought? I bring incense. I sometimes bring my statue that I have here, one or other of my statues. Whatever it is that I feel in that moment in time is going to make me get up to that state of psychological rewiring, of being able to kind of be there 100% in that moment of letting go. So whether it's a picture of a family member or maybe an item, maybe a piece of art that you made that you feel very, very passionate about, just go to the forest and create kind of a makeshift altar, essentially, for that experience that you're going to have. And again, if you're home alone, you could do it at home by yourself, but I recommend you leave your daily space and go somewhere where you don't work, you don't sleep, you don't eat, and it's just nature as far as the eye can see. And let nature absorb away the pain and the badness so that you can move to the next level. And that's about it. That's all I can think of. If you guys have any more questions, or you have comments, or there's something I said that you don't love, which I'm completely okay with, please contact me. Leave some comments below. Let me know what you think. Have an amazing day. Namaste.